Welcome, travelers, to my realm of nightmares. Allow me to be your personal assistant. Come in, take a seat, get comfortable. For when you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.
Hello, travelers. PA Nightmares here. I've noticed that over 30% of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel. So, if you're a new or a returning viewer and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you like what I do, liking the video and commenting as well, as it really helps push this video into the algorithm and it really does help the channel grow. Well, I've taken enough of your time. On to the main event. I had always been fascinated by abandoned places, ever since I first visited a deserted train graveyard several years ago. So, when I heard a rumor about something strange going on in an abandoned factory on the edge of town, I was intrigued. It was an area I was unfamiliar with, but the factory was easy enough to find, located in the middle of a rundown industrial estate. Thankfully, there was no security, and I didn't see any cameras watching me. I climbed through a gap in the fence without difficulty, and then I was in. Simple as that. I'd never been inside a factory like this before, so I wasn't sure what to expect. It seemed like it had been neglected for a while. Piles of dirt and rubble were stacked up around the door, and they were all locked when I tried them. After looking around for some time, I found a broken window around the back. There were still shards of glass sticking out from the corners, so I shrugged off my jacket and wrapped it around my fist, using it to smash and brush away the rest of the glass. Using the top of the window ledge to hoist myself up, I swung in through the window and landed with a heavy thump on the other side. A cloud of dust erupted from my feet, making me cough. The rest of the glass was littered across the floor. I was careful to pick my way over it, digging the torch I had brought out of my bag. As I clicked it on and shone it around, I realized I was in some kind of storage room. Piles of boxes and containers were stacked haphazardly against the wall, and in the middle of the floor, when I peeled one open, they seemed to be full of old rusty equipment and broken machinery parts, presumably from when this was still a working factory. Leaving them behind, I approached the door and tried the handle. At first, I thought it was locked, but after a few more attempts, it finally shuddered open, cracking on rusty hinges. The noise seemed to echo loudly in the open warehouse beyond, and I waited a moment to see if it stirred up any activity, but all was silent. According to the rumors, strange noises had been heard coming from inside the factory at night. I was aware of 2 people, which were reported to have gone missing in the area. It was never made conclusive whether the events were connected or separate coincidences, but as a result, the abandoned factory had a reputation for being haunted. Regardless of what the truth really was, I wasn't here to prove people's theories. I simply enjoyed exploring, especially places where the public weren't necessarily allowed. That was why I had come while it was still dark. Stepping out from the storage room, I found myself in the main warehouse. Most of the machines had been taken down and stored or transported elsewhere. Only a couple remained, casting hulking shadows in the beam of my flashlight. The walls were lined with huge industrial pipes and metal poles, and the high ceiling created a strange echo inside the building. Each footfall seemed to ricochet off the wall, creating a cacophony of noise. I could only imagine what it would be like when all the machines were switched on. I didn't remember what kind of noise the rumors purported, but it seemed to me that the factory's strange inner proportions could be responsible for the abnormality of sound people claimed to hear. I pulled my camera out of my bag and started snapping some pictures. I ran a blog in which I documented my exploration of abandoned spaces. So, I always liked to have a visual representation of where I'd been. It also served as proof that I wasn't just making it all up. I took photos of the rusted walls and debris, the machines that were still standing, and the control panels that had been corroded into place. I tried to brush aside some of the cobwebs, but the dust was so thick, I instantly pulled my hand away in disgust. There were 2 sets of stairs on the other side of the room. One was going up onto a balcony, the other disappearing down to the darkness. There was what appeared to be a control room upstairs. After packing my camera away for safekeeping, I decided to head there first. I was barely on the second step when something made me pause. For a moment, I thought I heard a voice echoing from upstairs that spiraled down into the basement. I waited, listening, assuming I had imagined it. But then I heard it again, and my whole body went numb.
Maxie, is that you?
The voice was female, young, and it made my heart thump just a little quicker. I staggered at a breath, turning to look down the other set of stairs.
Megan?
That voice. That was my sister's voice. It was unmistakable, even with the echo, and she was the only one in my family who called me Maxie, rather than just Max, like everyone else.
Megan, are you down there?
I waited a beat. Maybe I had imagined it. Why the hell would my sister be here? But then,
Maxie, I'm here.
the voice was definitely my sister's, and it was definitely coming from the lower level of the factory. But it didn't make any sense. What would she be doing here? I hadn't told anyone I'd be coming here, unless she read my blog. Maybe I'd mentioned it in the last post that I'd be exploring the factory next, and for some reason she decided to come along too. But that meant she had gotten here before me, and I hadn't heard her leave the house, unless she'd been just as sneaky as me, but she was too young to be out here on her own.
Megan, you shouldn't be here. It's dangerous. Can you come and get me?
I sighed, shaking my head. Of course, I'm coming. I started to descend the stairs, but something made me pause. All the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. Was this really my sister? Even when I tried to rationalize how she'd gotten here, it just didn't make any sense. How did she even know where the factory was? How did she manage to get inside? Unless she'd been the one to break the window, but surely she would have cut herself trying to climb over the glass shards. Nothing seemed to fit. And yet, the only thing I was certain of was that was my sister's voice. I had no doubt about it. It wasn't just some random child's voice. It was Megan's.
Megan? Can you come to me? I'm at the top of the stairs. It's dark, and I'm scared, she whimpered. Please, come and get me.
I knew something wasn't right, but the fear in her voice was evident. What if it was really Megan, and she was stuck down there? I couldn't just leave her, but I was reluctant to leave the safety of the main floor. Once I went down there, what if I got stuck too?
I can go get some help. No, Maxie, come and get me, please.
The desperation in her voice eventually swayed me, and I took the first step down into the darkness. My flashlight bounced off the wall at the end, where the stairs turned sharply to the left, but I couldn't see anything or hear anything beyond my own ragged breath. Megan, are you still alright?
Yes,
she said, her voice low.
But please hurry.
I know, I'm coming, I replied, reaching the turn in the stairs and shining my flashlight down to the bottom. A solid metal floor stretched on as far as I could see, but I couldn't see my sister.
Where are you?
I said. Can you step into the light? When she didn't reply, a speck of fear went through me.
Megan, can you see the bottom of my torch? I'm almost at the bottom of the stairs.
Still, no reply. My heart thundered in my chest. Where had she gone? She'd been talking to me fine just a minute ago, but now it was too silent. The unease from earlier returned tenfold, and I swallowed back a lump in my throat. I moved the flashlight left and right, trying to highlight more of the room below, but I couldn't see anything beyond metal pipes and grates in the floor. Something moved suddenly from the corner of my eyes, and I jerked the light towards it. A figure darted into the shadows around the room, just out of sight.
Megan, is that you?
When she still didn't reply, I began to get a bad feeling about what was waiting for me down at the bottom. I started to doubt that it was my sister down there at all, but something else. Something masquerading as her. I didn't know how it was possible for someone else to mimic her voice. Never mind knowing my name. What I did know was that if it was really my sister down there, then she wouldn't be hiding in the shadows where I couldn't see her. Before anything else could happen, I turned and began making my way back up the stairs. It was time to leave. It was time to go home and make sure that Megan was still tucked in bed, fast asleep.
Maxie, wait, don't go.
I froze, the flashlight trembling in my hand. That wasn't Megan's voice. Not anymore. That hard edge, the insistence. Megan never spoke like that. As much as I wanted to bolt out of there, for some reason, I couldn't move. Goose flesh rose all along my arms and neck, and I felt my hair stand on end. Something was standing behind me. If I turned around with my flashlight, I would see it. I'd see what had pretended to be my sister, what had tried to trick me into going down there. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't move forward either. I was stuck, facing the stairs up to my escape, with danger resting on my laurels. Yet, I still couldn't move. I couldn't do anything.
Maxie.
The voice sang, no longer pretending to be my sister. It was strangely wet, guttural, like someone trying to speak with a mouthful of water. It made my whole body go cold. The flashlight almost trembled out of my numb fingers.
Maxie, you're not leaving already, are you?
What the hell was this thing? It didn't sound human, not anymore. It sounded like a crude imitation of a human voice, missing something vital. How had I ever thought it was my sister speaking?
Maxie, I've been waiting for you.
I finally shook myself free of my stupor, taking a languid step forward. The thing behind me let out a low, animalistic growl.
Where do you think you're going?
Something shifted in the air behind me, and I started to run up the stairs, just as something ghosted my back, tearing through the material of my shirt. I flew up the rest of the stairs, back into the factory, and ran straight through the storage room, which I'd entered. I didn't look back once. I had no idea if it was following me, but I couldn't hear it. Nevertheless, I didn't want to give it a chance to catch up, so I didn't stop running until I was inside the room with the door shut behind me. Then I pulled a stack of boxes in front of the handle to wedge it shut. I paused for a moment, doubling over with my hands on my knees, the flashlight pointed down at my feet, trying to recover my breath from that mad dash.
Maxie, where did you go?
Cursing and wheezing under my breath, I scrambled back through the broken window, the shards of glass nicking the skin of my arm. As soon as I was outside, gulping in the night air, I could no longer hear the voice. Whatever it was hadn't followed me out. I couldn't stop shaking as I ran home, slamming the front door instead of climbing back through my window. My parents answered in bewilderment, but I rushed straight past them and headed up to my sister's room. As soon as I barged in, I let out a sob of relief. Megan sat up in bed, staring at me with blurry eyes. "Maxie, what's wrong?" she mumbled, climbing sleepily out of bed. Without saying anything, I rushed over and pulled her into a hug. I'd never been so glad to see her. I didn't know what I would have done if she hadn't been there. But that still left me with more questions than answers. Who had been in the factory? And how had they known about me and Megan? None of it made sense, and I would have thought I had imagined it all. If it wasn't for what I saw later that night, when I changed out of my clothing, 2 jagged tears through my shirt, where something had tried to grab me. Tonight's story was The Abandoned Factory by Hair-Raising Narratives. If you enjoyed this story, chances are you'll enjoy the content over on Hair-Raising Narratives channel and his website. The links to his website and his channel will be in the description below. Please check him out, let him know P sent you. As always, I'd like to say a special thank you to all my lovely Patreons. 242 Reads, Rando Calrissian, Seraphine the Midnight Bard, Creepy Clown Girl, Mia Mina, hair-raising narratives, spooky booze, scary story time, lichen trucker, and pimp demon. If you'd like to join these lovely travelers but light my fire, you can do so too by becoming a Patreon. Just remember, the support is always appreciated, but it is never expected. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ding that bell if you're new for all future content, as it really helps push this video into the algorithm and helps the channel grow. But as always,
Once you step into my realm, there's no stepping